My mother still is in Lawrence's Mansions. I'm in Lawrence's Mansions. My sister is in Lawrence's Mansions. My niece is in Lawrence's Mansions. We have a good crowd now, like family, and we had another two, but they got houses. They're over in the new houses at the moment. So we really try to stick together.
They're all so close to one another. I mean, there's nieces, there's nephews, there's aunts, there's uncles, mothers and fathers, grandmothers and grandfathers, they're all around.
We were that kind of community. It was a community one time that there was no outsider really came into the area. It was all cousins and aunts and uncles.
From the time I grew up, my mother's key was always in her door, and my key is never out of my door. It's always the only time it comes out is that night, and it goes back in the first thing in the morning, and nobody never came in.
Well, most nights I go to bed, I do leave my key in the door. It might be another night I'll take it out. I leave the kids' bikes outside the door some nights. I might be just too tired to take them in, and I'll go to bed and just leave them. And they don't interfere with their own. I mean, people in the community.
Well, I leave my key in. I come home last week and let my door open all night. My neighbour now, I have good neighbours on my balcony. I mean, I walk out in that balcony and I go out. At least I'll stand and chat to them. I'd never walk out and see no one. You know that way, there'd be always someone on the balcony to have a chat with. You think we were nosy, but we're not. We just automatically do go out to the balcony to have a chat. You know, so the community feeling with the neighbours even is great.
Sylvia, we go.
Like, you never, if you are in bad humour, you'll soon get out of it from the balcony because someone will come along and talk to you. As you know, you can go in, go on your balcony and when you go over to the houses, you have a front room and a back room. And when you go into the back, they're in that back room and you don't see anybody. They're literally sitting there on their own until they say, I'll go over. But they're not as neighbourly as the flats.
Rita! You coming up to Marie's for a cup of tea?
Do you understand what I mean? They're great neighbours, but you don't go in and sit down and have your chat like you do in the flats. Yeah, well, Phyllis, she's a sister of mine and she lives over in the new houses. It's about 5 minutes across the way, and she gets up in the mornings, so she'll go across to her daughter in the flats, Marina, and Maria put on the kettle. Phyllis will give me a shout and I'll come out my window and we'll come over and have a cup of tea. And that's the morning field.
What did she drink? I think she's drinking Stag, was it? Bulmers or something.
That's great. It's a great feeling like that. You can just say, well, I'm going over to my nieces and I'm married in all the stages. I think it's terrific.
Put up on the table.
Sound of the noise.
The street was beautiful one time. You know, you'd walk into it, it was a place that you wasn't seeing, and then when people did come in and have a look at it, I mean, it was beautiful to look at. There was loads of shops, and the corporation just, I think they had it in their mind that we were going to be demolished and we'll put them all out.
It's really disgraceful the way it's had to get. This past 15 years, it's actually been run down terrible.
I don't think that the corporation care anymore. Maybe it's just their way of letting the place get run down so bad that they think they can run the people out of it, you know. The maintenance is just terrible.
Years ago the flats was gorgeous and all the mothers, they all held off, as I told you a few minutes ago, like they washed the stairs and they liked the home, and I think it goes on from that, like the way you're brought up. If you're brought up in a nice home, you'll keep a nice home around you.
I mean, I love my flat and I like to keep it nice. It doesn't bother me what the outside of the flats look like. It does look terrible, but my home is my home and that's it. I like to keep it the best I can.
Oh, look at that.
People's body to get things in the home, they get things out by the week, but to have a nice home, because they were always used to a lovely home. It really puts down to that you're used to things, you know, and you just don't like to see a home getting run down when you're after being used to a good home for so long.
With the baby now?
Oh, grand.
And is there enough room like in the flat?
No room.
So many of now, where is she now?
She's still sleeping with me in the bed. The baby's on its own in the sitting room.
So there's and many of you now in one bed, like?
3 was in the one bed. And then when I made her up to go to school, she won't go up for school because she's tired just yesterday. So that way, she stays away because I'm up.
Thomas got a room to himself, yeah.
Amanda's in that room. Amanda's in that room.
Thomas?
Amanda is 15 and Thomas is 19. The two of them is in a separate room.
In the one room?
In the one room.
And what age is Amanda?
15.
And Thomas?
19. Terrible friend up behind her, really.
What about you, Lola? Many in your
19 was in the one bed.
A great time, Dean. Can't tell me to go on the pier, like. Just want the thrill, not the pier. 19 of one room of 40. Yeah. Michelle, do you want cheers? Michael? No. Little Michael? Yeah. Carmen? Yeah, Mom. That's lovely, isn't it? Which I like. Yeah. Sandra helped us do that. It's lovely. There is.
Did it take long to make it?
No.
Yeah, and then your garlic.
The what?
Which the brown spig?
That looks lovely. And then it's nice.
There is a good few girls down here that is only young. They made a mistake. I think they just love babies. You know, they like to have children. You see an awful lot of women down here, they always have their kids. You know, girls always have their babies with them and they never really without their kids. You know, that's your life, your kids, and that's it.
I feel that the woman is the main person in the home, like she holds the home together. She does the more worrying about the kids. Like she's always there all the time, and the kids depend more, I feel, on the mothers than they do on the fathers.
It still goes back to the thing even with kids. No matter what goes on, they say their ma is there. She has to be there for everything we do. And if we go out, there's a big commotion, the house is upside down. And then when they come back to say, I'd be mad, say, why did you go out? You should have said in the mind of the kids. So therefore, a mother is supposed to be in the home day and night. Well, that's wrong.
I think because of the unemployment, the men don't have a strong position. Unemployment will certainly be running up to 80%. And this affects their relationships with the women. It's the women who have the clearly defined roles of caring for the children, looking after the home. And basically it is the women who take, as far as I can see in most cases, who take the major decisions concerning the home and the children. Playgrounds are absolutely invaluable in providing the children with a space where they're well supervised and where they can enjoy themselves and play games. I feel myself that the children who come from Sheriff Street start off with the cards marked against them. Where they're born, the name of the place, the fact that there's such a high unemployment level means that it is much more difficult for them to succeed, whatever success means, in their lives than for others.
When they're in primary school, you can you can talk to your kids, what you say goes. But when they get to a certain age, they get out of hand. Well, they try to get out of hand till you put them down again, and then you're the worst in the world for doing that.
It was very hard at first when they started coming into that team. Different opinions, different attitudes, but you just have to try and do the best you can for them, to help them along. Always give them a bit of encouragement, right from wrong. You can't do any more than that.
Very much employment, they start to stand around corners, and I really don't know how to get by, but they do.
Well, the younger men now, in their 30s and 35s, and an awful lot of them just be in the dumps. We have a dumps down here. I call them pickaroonies, I don't know, but they go over and see what you can get out of that. That'll help them, and there's an awful lot of men into the pigeons. We have an awful lot of pigeon lofts down here, and there's an awful lot into sheriff's football as well. So there's few pubs and few sports and the dumps as well to get by on as well,
Well, I feel every man wants a job, They feel degraded because they can't walk, they can't get work. They're standing around, they're going into the pubs, sitting over a drink. They might be borrowing for a drink and coming out drunk, just going home,
two of the women have said that the men have remarked to them that they're more cheeky now than they were before. I think it has given them a sense of their own self-worth.
The difference that it has made to you in your relationships then with the men in your life,
Yeah.
or the men out of your lives, or
My husband said I
whatever.
got very brave.
He said you got very brave. Tell us more.
Give him back cheek when I never done.
She got that cap on from me. I told her to do that.
But did you think any more about that?
This club made us independent. We know we can sit down and read and write, and we can go about things where we want to. That's what it's given
We
us.
can sort out emails without panicking.
That's given us great independence.
Well, a woman has a say now, more so than she did years ago. I mean, the man was always the one to domineer, the woman couldn't. But, I mean, in regards of if you want to keep your man, my ma used to always say this, is to feed him and in the bed all the time. That's how there was loads of kids years ago. So this day and age, you can turn around and say no, and that's it, he has to accept. But years ago, you couldn't, you'd get a dig. Years ago, if you said no. My ma used to tell me she used to get digs. Stand up for yourself. You know, if you have a man, you kind of go by him all the time. Well, your mother learned you that, always go by your man. But the centre kind of helped you that way, that you could come home and say, well, if he wanted sex and you didn't feel up to it, well, that was it. You didn't feel up to it. You could tell him that. You know.
It's my anniversary tomorrow, girls.
What anniversary?
I'm a year divorced tomorrow.
Yeah, no, you're divorced.
And I'm breaking me. Yeah, but I mean, the women now in the 80s have changed from we were growing up. Like, it's not the way it was years ago. Like, the woman had to be there. Even if they were going through a bad patch, like, they had to stay with one another. Whether they were happy or not.
Yeah. I think it was just a thing in them days.
And what
Like, now they're more open. Like, more different now. Like, it's not new. I'm awaiting my husband. Like, I'm glad in a sense that I am awaiting. Because I wouldn't be able to go through that life. Going through a bad patch, like, try their best to keep the marriage there if they are really happy, if they do love one another. But other than that, if they don't, if it's really one partner, they're better off breaking up.